You'll never see me coming. That was like a vocal stim for me, I would say, growing up. Ever since I saw that trailer for Iron Man 3, that was just something that was just in the back of my head constantly, concerning the Mandarin. That entire speech, I think all the speech from the trailers was like, they called me a terrorist, but I'm a teacher. Great bit.
Yeah, it was a great bit. The Mandarin is a very entertaining character.
Yeah.
I will say, we're getting into a tangent immediately into the podcast, but it is kind of wild that like the Mandarin, the comic character, is like gone for real. He used to have 10 rings, man. It was a Chinese guy that had 10 rings, and each ring had a different power, and he was an Iron Man villain.
I don't think Marvel Studios are gonna go down and be like, hey, let's make a Chinese terrorist.
Well, now he's Wenwu, or like the rings are like those big bands and stuff. It's not the same,
Times have changed
because of woke. You can't have the Mandarin. Just give him a different name. Just give him. He doesn't have to be the Mandarin.
The Mandarin is just.
And I know the Mandarin.
The Mandarin is just Chinese language.
Because it is weird to basically have a villain that's just the Chinese guy.
The Chinese guy.
These guys.
Rich billionaire playboy philanthropist American guy.
Exactly.
I do feel like we could have the Mandarin like in his full capacity, because one was cool, but he doesn't have the 10 rings of all the powers like the wind or electricity, gravity and all that stuff. It was a cool gimmick, in my opinion. That being said, we're not here to talk. Well, we are here to talk about the Mandarin, but more about Trevor Slattery, because we are covering on this episode of the Peak of Fiction podcast, Wonder Man. The new Marvel Studios television series. I think it's a Spotlight.
Marvel Spotlight,
series. Yeah, like a limited miniseries. And just straight off the bat, I think it's quite good. I think my fellow co-hosts agree. Yeah. And in order to cover this potentially peak series, we have some of the best co-hosts in the business. Starting at the top with our comic book expert, Beto.
Hey guys, I'm such a comic book expert. I know everything about Wonder Man from his first appearance by Brian Michael Bendis to his slight appearance in Division's issue 8, where he was just like a banner right in the background when Vision and all the Avengers are trying to fight him. I know him.
So you see, I think everything that he says was the fact, and I mean like serious
fact. Yeah, don't fact check. Don't even bother fact checking because he's an encyclopedia. Like you're gonna lose.
It's not like
time.
I have the League of Comic Book Geeks page of him on right now. I don't believe that.
He doesn't need it.
Don't believe that. Doesn't need it.
I know all of him right here.
Also joining this pod, we have Gray the Samurai.
Hey y'all, welcome. Thank y'all for joining us. We're excited to cover a very, very current series. This series literally released a few days ago, so feel free to watch the series, watch us, we'll dig into it.
Okay. And rounding out the crew, we got Super O.
Hey, what's up everyone? It's your boy Super O. It's a wonder, man, how this series was so good.
That's the first one of the day, folks. Be prepared. Peak of Fiction, our goal on this podcast is to cover the absolute peak of fiction, be that comic books, TV, anime, movies, and more. And this time, as we brought up, we're covering Wonder Man. It kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, it was advertised, but all the advertisement for Wonder Man, I would say, leading up to it was very
minimal,
subtle. It was just like the font and Yahya Abdul-Mateen, and just a little bit. It's just a guy about like a person who is going to be trying to be in a movie, but he has superpowers, and I would say that advertisement was correct. That is what the show is. It's not really hiding like some other secret thing that it is. It is mostly about Wonder Man trying, or Simon Williams trying to be the Wonder Man for the remake of his classic series.
Now that you said that, it makes total sense why they couldn't advertise this show.
Yes, I think they made something. In my opinion, and we'll get to our initial reactions right now. In my opinion, this show is quality. Right, this is a really solid miniseries. Everything worked very well. I like everything. I think they delivered on what they were going for. But I believe you had to almost trick people into watching it. And I'm kind of sad that it wasn't a weekly show.
Yeah.
By the same time, if this was a weekly show, people would be upset.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. In my opinion, if this is a weekly show, people would be waiting every week for and when does Simon Williams bust out his powers and start beating up people and fighting this, and you will be, if that's what you're looking for,
that's not what it is.
You will be sorely disappointed.
Yeah. It's
but
not that kind
if
of
you
show.
but if you like good writing and some good character acting and some really good commentary on the modern state of Hollywood, I think Wonder Man is a good show. And as people say, Wonder Man is kind of like the Andor of the MCU.
Bro. No, it's not. It's most definitely not.
I can't confirm or deny that, seeing how I barely got through Andor and
did not hold your
confirmed
attention.
Super O Andor hater.
But yeah, I do like that. Saying something is the Andor or something is the new way to say, oh, this is good, right? It's the Andor. Well, I think a couple years ago they tried to say Secret Invasion was the Andor of the MCU. Those people were liars,
deceivers.
Nah, they were
liars and deceivers.
Or
and
maybe they were drug addicts. I had no idea what quality was.
One or the other.
Who can say?
Maybe they thought they were being real.
I'm surprised that Wonder Man got made at all. To be honest, I'm surprised this exists. I can't believe they greenlit this show and let it come to pass, and the show did not at any point devolve into generic MCU thing.
Yeah, that's actually very impressive. Because usually with these shows, or just with the MCU projects in general nowadays, it feels like they always try to loop back to some huge development that has nothing to do with the current story, but for the sake of the MCU, you're we have to expand the world somehow. We have to add these Easter eggs and these characters and these future references that we might use in our cinematic universe. But Wonder Man had a story and it just told it. no interference with anything. So yeah, that was. We're gonna get into it, but that was impressive.
For sure. So yeah, we got some we got some of our initial impressions out the way. My other co-hosts, I guess Beto and Gray. How do you feel about Wonder Man?
I'll let Beto go first.
I was I was shocked. I didn't know the show was going to be as particularly good as it could be. Throughout the whole entire thing, I was actually entertained by our main characters and how simple the storytelling is in the overall story arc. This was more about character and character. So it just felt like something completely out of the ordinary. Like Kevin Feige and everyone at the studio just literally listened to a script writer and to a showrunner, and it was like, hey, you can make a show. Finally. This felt like an actual genuine show, and I just feel like, man, I would love at least 5 seasons of this. If it's just Simon and Trevor just running around Hollywood trying to make a picture, and and being a superhero on the side, even though he clearly doesn't want to be a superhero. It's just something a good extraordinary character kind of show rather than it being a superhero. It's more of, it balances both.
That's well said.
Yeah.
All right. My overall, I like it a lot. I'll say that. My opinion might come across a bit different from my co-hosts, because I feel like in some spaces, Wonder Man opens up certain loose ends that it never properly ties up. And they are not enormous loose ends; they're not huge and glaring, but there's enough of them where there are moments where I'm like, that's odd that we haven't properly addressed this and the series is almost over.
Mhm.
Maybe they'll get to it later. And then they just never do. Maybe it's because they feel like those loose ends are not worth covering, or maybe they're planning on covering it as we get closer to Doomsday. I'm not sure. We'll see. But overall, I thought the series was well done. I think the characterization was well thought out. I think the plot definitely had moments that made me feel good as a viewer. There were a lot of moments that made me feel like I was watching The Pursuit of Happiness. And I think I'll be honest, I don't have a ton of those moments in MCU. I don't have a ton of moments that make me nervous for like genuinely nervous for someone, and then internally cheer with joy. I think we've gotten a few of those moments in some films. I think we've gotten barely any of those moments in any of the TV shows. And I think they did and I'll go so far as to say an excellent job writing a story that makes you feel genuine delight and joy for moments of success for the main character, which is impressive because there are some moments where some might say that the main character is very cringe. There may be some moments where you think the main character isn't super likable, but you still find yourself happy for their moments of success. And I think to get to that level of storytelling takes a lot of talent as a writer. So I want to give a shout out to the creators of the series. They did a really great job with the writing, but also the main actor. How do you pronounce his name? Yeah.
Abdul-Mateen.
Yeah.
The second.
Abdul-Mateen. The second, I just want to say your specific acting in this series was so extremely believable. At no point did I doubt what I was watching on screen, or did I doubt the portrayal. At no point you felt extremely true to what you were trying to convey in the series. And I usually don't think about that much, but this is a series about acting.
Yeah.
There are definitely ways that you could have phoned it in and the fans would have been like, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's okay. And be probably somewhat happy with it as a series overall because the story was so good. But your acting carried such a heavy weight to it. The characters are extremely complex. I think we wouldn't have gotten that level of belief without your acting skill. So I want to give a shout out to the writers, the director, and the acting skills that are present in the series. I think they all culminated to a phenomenal end result. Despite the loose ends that never got fully tied up, I did overall very much enjoy the series.
Yeah. Okay. So we can get into it, and we'll go through the series episode by episode, and just talk about things, point things out, bring up any quips or I guess in Gray's case, any gripes he has with some of the choices. Wonder Man is directed by, or created, ran by Destin Daniel Cretton and Andrew Guest. I think Destin Daniel Cretton did Shang-Chi, and he is going to direct, or he's currently directing the new Spider-Man movie,
Yes.
correct?
I have faith in that man now.
So I think he might have it. He might be the next direction of the MCU.
Please.
But well, before we do the summary, we have to get this very important thing out of the way. Maybe you could take the time to subscribe to this growing podcast. Maybe leave a like, even a comment. I think that would be just swell. People are saying that Peak of Fiction is like the Andor of podcasts. And, if you want to get in on the ground floor to that, this is your moment. This is your time. We got plenty of cool things going on in the future. Just coming up in March, we got all kinds of shows we'll be covering, like Daredevil and Invincible and One Piece. And also, we have a few more Black movies and TV shows that we're going to cover for February. So, stick around. You might have some fun. So with that bit of housekeeping out of the way, Wonder Man begins with our main character of Simon Williams, who is a struggling actor in LA trying to hack it, and he is fired from a small role in the American Horror Story series because he is so pedantic. And our first introduction to him is he is this like he's so in his own head when it comes to these roles, right? He's always trying to go method. And he's always trying to like add a little bit extra to the point where like he's doing the director. Well, I don't think the professor would do this. Well, actually, I believe the moonlight should be over here, and well, would you do? Would you be reading that book on Aztec thing? And it's just like, bro, you're playing a professor character, gets his like head bitten off, and like dies, for American Horror Story. But he is like, no, this role must be done the right way, perfectly. So you
can really see how like his because throughout the series you could tell how hungry he is to be an actor. It's what he's always wanted to do. And so I think this scene was a very good way to like introduce him because American Horror Story isn't like a small, or at least from my memory, it's not like a small time show. It's a pretty
it's a big deal,
big role, even if you are like a side character. Just being on that'd be like that go crazy. But even then, he's still like, I mean, like. I think that our relationship would be a lot tighter. I think can we have it written like this, and can we move that? And it's an annoying.
Just creating a whole Bible for his own. It's just like,
it's
no.
just like you're making a 40-page backstory for a side character A. But it's so amusing watching him.
And the thing of it is just like, he can't get out of his own way, right?
Yeah,
that's his main thing. And, so he starts from this point and then he goes back home only to find out he's being dumped by his girlfriend who was planning on moving out. She's also like, her own, she's an actress as well. So things are going bad for Simon, right? It is not ideal. And, I believe this is, around the time he activates his powers, correct?
The
first time, or was that a little bit later on?
I think it's a little bit later on.
A little bit later.
A little bit later on. So he, but things are not going well for Simon. But
yeah, it is a little bit later on. Yeah.
Things are not going well, for Simon, and he is, trying to figure out what he's going to do, and he happens to run into Trevor Slattery. And Trevor Slattery has become a recurring character in the MCU.
Yeah.
Most famous for playing the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, because all bit in Iron Man 3 was the Mandarin was not real, right? He was an actor that was just portraying a role, and the real villain was played by Pierce. I don't know. Anyways,
it's been a
the
while.
character's name is Aldrich Killian. I know this. That's the Extremis, and that movie's kind of awkward because he's just like a shirtless fireman that fights Iron Man at the end, and I'm like, the Mandarin would have been cooler, but I digress. So Trevor Slattery is doing his thing. He's trying to get back into acting, after his old jail stint. And then in Shang-Chi, he was transported to a holder zone. So he's been around, and I guess he's never officially finished his jail sentence for being the Mandarin. So he hears about Trevor Slattery that they're remaking Wonder Man, and that is really important to Simon Williams because Wonder Man was a very important series for him. A series that him and his dad watched when they were young, and his dad passed away when he was young as well. And he tries to get to his agent to say, please let me audition for Wonder Man. Please let me audition for Wonder Man. But Janelle is on his side, but at the same time, she's kind of realistic about Simon Williams, because even though he is talented, he is a mess.
Yeah.
Right? He is a mess. So Simon is kind of like, he doesn't know what he wants to do. He's kind of freaking out. And Trevor takes his time to calm him down. And this is when they first kind of form their bond here, in the beginning of their bond. And he continues to help him, with his, auditioning process. And they become like a really close pair, right? After this. Also a note, there's one of the themes I think that's running through Wonder Man is a lot about, which is kind of mature for the MCU, but there's a lot of themes of like addiction, Trevor Slattery used to be like a heavy drug and alcohol user, but he is sober now. And that's a big factor. I think Simon Williams drinks probably a little too much throughout the course of this season. And as we see with another character coming, Doorman, there's also like he becomes a severe alcoholic. I think there is like a subtle thing in the background, of the show running about, addiction to like drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And how that kind of affects people.
Yeah.
So they help each other, and they had this good moment only to find out that it was a setup because Trevor Slattery is working for the Department of Damage Control to capture Simon, because they say they believe he has superpowers that they believe are unstable and dangerous. And, they're not incorrect. Now, I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It is kind of wild that they just want to immediately put him in prison for this, but hey,
he's dangerous.
I think it was like
he's just supposed to be an actor.
I think it was like a case of just they just needed someone to prove that they're still that they're still useful, and Simon was like the only guy in like the radius,
and he was a black man too.
Yeah, already.
Yeah, but it's like
double whammy.
It's like really with all the metahumans and all this stuff going on in the MCU. It's like really, Simon?
Like literally, we had She-Hulk, and she was in California. She's in the area.
Go to New York,
right? Honestly, yeah. Go to New York.
Go to New York. What are you doing?
Take a quick trip.
And he was in New York. He was interrogating Spider-Man.
Yeah, with Spider-Man
and everybody else. I guess he didn't. I don't know.
So we get a little backstory in Slattery in episode 2, and we find out that after his stint for getting out of jail through the events of Shang-Chi and trying to return back to normal life, he was picked up by the Department of Damage Control and the FBI. And they say, hey, if we want to shorten your prison sentence, or you either go to prison, option 1, or option 2, you help us with this. And he's like, yep, I'll take option 2. So they want him to basically, I don't know, honeypot Simon Williams through acting in order to first get proof of his power set, and then to, hopefully subdue him. His casting agent tells him about, well, hey, the director, the casting director may want Simon Williams on his project. So we want you to do a self-tape. And the episode becomes about Simon trying to get the self-tape done, where he takes a video of himself playing a role so he can show it to the casting director. So he can hopefully get this job. but it is not an easy task. Because one, he first tries to do a self-tape in his house, and he's going through his old footage, and he sees a bit of his girlfriend, and we see his powers activate the first time. Whenever he uses his powers, his eyes turn like a purplish red color, and he releases, as we later find out, this ionic energy, and he's very powerful.
Yeah,
he is a pretty powerful metahuman.
Soft rip without any training.
All in all. So he, like, whenever he starts to release it, like, the ground begins to shake, like, his environment begins to shake, and there's, like, ripples. Like, you see ripples kind of come through his, like, skin.
Yeah.
Which is, like a kind of gross effect.
It's pretty gross.
But, like, you know, everything starts to shake, and he can just release these huge explosions of energy. So, he is a problem. Somebody should look into him, I think.
He's not harming no one.
It is unclear what he is, how he got his powers. I guess he might be a mutant, technically. Sure I don't know. But he just has them.
It's one of the X-Men?
He's had them since he was a kid.
Since he was 14 years old? I'm kidding. I'm just joking.
But I don't think Simon Williams' comic lore is a mutant.
Yeah, nah.
You know, I think it was something different. But I guess, you know, he just has the powers.
Yeah.
And
they don't explain the origin in the series.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Beto, what is
sure.
I'm glad they did not.
Wonder Man as a comic book.
Yes, no. Simon Williams was made into a being of pure ionic energy by Baron Zemo, and became the impossibly powerful Wonder Man, meant to aid the Masters of Evil in their campaign against the Avengers. Wonder Man found himself sympathizing with the heroes and joined their team instead. He has remained an Avenger to this day.
You know, Beto is kind of like the Andor of like comic book historians.
That was accurate to me.
Thank you.
Well done, Beto.
I try my best. One clickety clack at a time.
Now, what is Wonder Man's favorite food? I was trying to like calm.
Yeah.
So the agent's like, Slattery, I want you to bug his computer, right? So we can get this information from him. And you know, so they're going back and forth, and Simon turns him away from going into his house, right? Because he says like, hey, I got other stuff. It's a mess in there. We have to do self-tape somewhere else. So they try to go to a self-tape studio, and then that's a mess, right? Because the people running it are incompetent.
Extremely incompetent.
Then like,
yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. And then he's like, you know what? I know we're going to go to. We're incoming random Joey Pants cameo. Joe Pantoliano. Famous for like The Matrix and like other roles, just shows up, and he's like, he owes me because he stole my role off of like this television show, this long-running television show. So he goes up there, and you know, Joey Pants is kind of a jerk, but like not really. I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag because like he does point out to him, it's like, bro, I didn't steal your role. You were just strung out on pills.
Yeah,
like the entire time.
Yeah,
and you'd freak out and you do all this other stuff.
Yeah, it was
and that's why we had to kick you off of it.
Yeah, you were drugged out.
Yeah, but then he like that.
So
bit where he's just like, which I think really pushed Simon, which he's just like, what do you say about acting? He's like acting like just a paycheck.
It's just a job.
It's just a job.
Yeah, it's just a job. Yeah,
it's
a really like, you know, I'm doing it for the money, and that really bothers Simon because Simon's a true actor.
It also bothered Trevor. Trevor was like, acting is a calling.
Yeah. Yes. I also like to say I do love how Trevor talks, how Ben Kingsley's playing him, because he has this like sing-songy, almost poetic way that he speaks. Of like, I'm not sure what the accent he's going for, but it's like, oh yes, we're doing the thing. Okay, you know, that he does, and it's really great because it's very different than how he plays like the Mandarin or he plays other bits. I don't even think he really was. I don't remember him having that voice in like Iron Man 3. Even.
Yeah, I think You know what it probably is, bro? It's probably the fact that he's sober now, and
Yeah.
Yes.
his his whimsical nature, has returned. I do not recall how he spoke in Shang-Chi, but I also like his kind of more like lighthearted tone.
Yeah.
Throughout this movie, because in as the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, he was very heavy as a character, and the drug and alcohol abuse likely did not help with the extreme weight of what the character was. He was almost incoherent at times. And then when we got to see him in Shang-Chi, it was very much like he was trying to like turn himself in a different direction. And I think at this point in the story, he has fully. This is our third time seeing him. He's at this point pretty much turned himself in the direction that he wants to be in. But it's led to a very different type of person than we've seen up to this point.
And I'll say Ben Kingsley is great in this role.
He's very
He's
good.
He is the other half of the show for sure.
Yeah.
You know,
One could have called it Wonder Man and
Barnaby.
Wonder Man and Slattery. Wonder Man and Barnaby.
Barnaby.
Yeah, Wonder Man and
Yeah.
Barnaby. Actually, would have been a very interesting name for the show, but I get why they didn't do that. But yeah.
So so Simon, after all this, they're like, okay, we'll just go back to my apartment. And so he has things kind of like covered up, right? And he does the self-tape and it works out. And, you know, Trevor helps him to like, you know, get in the right mindset for it. But when he leaves, right, he walks out to grab something, right? He's looking around and like he puts the ring on the
laptop.
computer to hack it.
The Department
But
of
he looks around.
The Department of Damage Control, just for context, gave Trevor Slattery a ring that they wanted him to place on top of the computer in order to hack the computer and pull in all the content from the machine, from the computer, to the ring. It was like a memory card.
Yeah.
And they were going to watch what Simon Williams recorded on his computer, thinking that he would have recorded himself using his powers for testing purposes. And then they'd be like, yeah, got him. We'll see what's actually on the ring later, but this is a moment where Trevor decides, I will help them hack into Simon's computer, and he actively takes the ring off, puts it on the computer, and then starts to like glitch out a little bit.
And then he kind of pulls back the curtain and he sees like the big like explosion like burst from the wall. And they had kind of that moment, and then Simon walks out and he sees that he sees it. And they go have this kind of awkward, like, oh, well, you know, what's going on here moment. And then Trevor's like, you know, Simon's like, oh, should I order pizza? And he walks out and he sees the situation. And Trevor's like, oh, yes, pepperoni, you know, and they just go with it. He just rolls with it. And I think this also helps strengthen, you know, their bond, more or less. So, third episode. Right, you know, as they say, they aren't able to find anything from the computer. It's just lots and lots of self-tapes, and also like him rapping.
Hey, you gotta do whatever you can to get big. You know what I mean?
You know, you gotta do whatever you can. So then he's like, all right, well, I you know, and so he's like, you need to get more information, Trevor. Right, that's not enough. And you know, it happens that there's a chance that he can go to Simon's home because they're doing it's his mom's birthday, right? And there is like this, I mean, there's kind of tension there between Simon and his family and whatnot, but you know, he very slickly is able to invite him. Trevor is very slickly able to invite himself to the party. And so now, you know, he's Haitian, right? Simon Williams in this adaptation, he's very Haitian. I did not know that Yahya Abdul-Mateen was Haitian.
Is he?
Yes, he is. I think on his father's side has like the Haitian West Indian heritage.
That's awesome. I didn't know that
I
either.
know that. I thought he was straight West African, but I was wrong. But he is so he's Haitian. I think that's a cool bit. Like the entire bit with the family and whatnot. I know a lot of Haitian people. I think we all know collectively, a lot of Haitian people
Yeah.
with the locale that we live in.
And their food is amazing.
Yeah.
Just gonna put that out there.
The food is amazing, and it felt authentic.
Yeah, it did feel pretty
near the
authentic,
bits where his relatives are talking trash about him
Very
in
funny.
Creole.
Yeah.
It sounds like I know Creole. And they had that. Oh, we're just talking. We're just crazy. And like nobody really gets him, right? He's the odd one out because he has this dream, but it's not like seeing success yet, right? And because of that, everyone kind of sees him as like, a bum, right? It's like everyone's helping you out so you can do your acting thing. Why don't you get like a real job, right? His brother has some beef with him as well, because his older brother runs like successful like insurance business or something like that. And it's like, why don't you just work with me, bro? Right? Because that's gonna be more useful to you than this, right? She says like it's not gonna work out, and they have there's a lot of tension, and everyone talks about like an incident that happened with Simon.
Yes, they do.
Where there's a fire. There's a fire in his house when he was like 13.
Yes.
And what it was said was the stove was left on, but no one is really like. It's clear that no one really believes that.
Yeah.
That the stove was left on, and Simon has no damage from the fire, and he has no there's nothing. He has no smoke inhalation. It's a very mysterious event.
Yeah. Quite mysterious.
And so, his brother has beef about him with that, and there's all kinds of tension in this household. Trevor is able to navigate relatively well, even though he is an outsider. He's the only white guy. Actually, no, it's Ben Kingsley's not white. Right?
I kind of felt he was. Well, he might be Armenian.
Yeah, fact check. Can somebody pull the stats?
Jamie, can you
Ben Kingsley ethnicity?
I think. Oh my gosh, he played Gandhi.
Yeah, he's from Britain,
he's mixed with both English and Indian.
Okay.
So his mom's from England and his father's from India.
Okay. All right. So I was like, yeah, I know.
Which, when you look at him,
just a white
it's
guy.
like, oh, yeah, that checks out.
It checks out. But anyways, okay, I say he's the only non-Haitian at the party, right? But he gets along decently well. But it all culminates in this argument with him and this between his brother and his mom, and it's a pretty rough argument, that they're having, and
it's more so between him and his brother.
During this argument, he starts getting heated, and his powers activate, and one thing destroys the entire.
Can we talk about the argument was about?
Go into it.
I think it's noteworthy, right? Because we're getting a glimpse into his brother's character as well, right? Mm-hmm. So his brother. Is this also the episode where we get the hospital scene?
I believe so.
I think this is the same episode where we get the hospital scene. So in the hospital scene, Eric, who's the brother, the mother, and Simon are in the hospital, and the doctor is talking about what happened in this fire, this horrible fire. Simon's clothing is singed, but the doctor is saying, I see no evidence that anything happened to Simon. Like I think you mentioned it earlier, right? No smoke inhalation, no actual burn marks on the skin. Like somehow he's the healthiest 13-year-old boy in the world, right? Incredibly healthy. Eric is in the room. He's watching this. In Eric's mind, what is going on with my brother, right? They fast forward quite a bit, right, to this modern scene, and Eric is clearly frustrated with how his brother has kind of been coasting on the fumes of his mother, right? Yeah. Like his mom is to an extent, sponsoring him pursuing his dreams and pursuing his passions. And she's doing it because, and I don't know if you mentioned it, Bait. I don't think you did. There's a conversation that the mother has with Ben Kingsley's character, um,
Trevor Slattery.
Trevor Slattery. Trevor's trying to like poke in, trying to find out information about Simon. It's hard for him to find information. And Trevor asks the mom about Simon, and she reveals something that is so heavy. It's such a deep conversation that informs so much of what's happened up to this point, and then what happens afterwards. And it has to do with Simon's loneliness. So she mentions that there was a moment where Simon, after all these horrific events have taken place, says to his mother, "Thank you for loving me." And the mother, this was so intriguing because this also tells me a lot about the mother's kind of manner of treating Simon based on her own personal assumptions. She had, up to that point, assumed that Simon was okay with being alone. And she says this. She's just like, I thought he'd be okay with, like, you know, his posters and his movie watching thing that he's doing, like all these things. Like, I assumed that he was okay with being alone. And in this moment, in this episode, we've only seen the way that his mother interacts with him. We haven't really seen an enormous amount of his father's interactions with him. We've only seen the mom. And so she realizes that him being alone is not a choice that he's making purposely. He actually would prefer to not be alone. He would prefer to have people in his corner that love him and that care about him and that demonstrate that and that show that. In this episode, we also get this really uncomfortable moment when she's about to blow out the candles and the whole family is around her and they're really happy and they're engaged and they're looking at her and they're smiling and they're happy. And Simon really is like in another place. He almost seems like he's not really even present at this party. And we're getting all these interesting glimpses into the extreme depths of how lonely and how alone Simon Williams is as a man. And the reason he's so alone, the reason he's so by himself is because he has a secret. And he feels like his protection of that secret comes with a consequence of not being able to talk to anyone about anything. So he's bottling all these emotions, he's bottling all these thoughts, and he's bottling all these feelings, and he's bottling and bottling and bottling, which is this is where the series gets really deep. So everyone on this podcast we're all men here. We have all either personally experienced what it's like as a man to be kind of forced to bottle in certain spaces, or have observed someone who has bottled for a long time and then has a moment of release without superpowers in the real world environment, in the real actual world. Men definitely have a sense of discomfort around expressing themselves and sharing their feelings around things. And I think this show, I wasn't expecting it to get this deep. This show discusses that topic in a very interesting way because Simon Williams is bottling this entire party. People are picking fun at him. They're poking at him.
Yes,
they're nagging.
All the various microaggressions.
An insane number of microaggressions. Add to that, Trevor Slattery was supposed to be there as his buffer. He was supposed to help to dampen. He was supposed to dampen the microaggressions. and he was not doing so because he had his own side mission that he was on. So Trevor's doing his own side mission to try to find out more about Simon and record it on his little wire that he's got with him. So he's essentially abandoned Simon. So Simon is by himself in the trenches, dealing with an enormous number of microaggressions from his family, and even worse, the person that he's supposed to be closest to, his own brother. And he feels so extremely alone. And then there's this moment where everyone's celebrating and happy, and he can't even be present because he's so internally bottled. He's bottled all these emotions, and he can't even be in the moment with anyone for anything. And then his brother takes this moment that's supposed to be a happy moment, right? Like he's taken some of the money that his mom has given him, and he bought his mother a gift that he thought she would very much enjoy, and she loves it. She's excited about it. She's thrilled about it. She's taking this moment that Simon stepped outside of himself, thought about his mom, what she would like, and he got her something that she would really appreciate. And then Eric is like, you're buying your mom a gift with her money? What are you, a 5-year-old? Like, just like really like, we've gone past microaggressions, right? Now he's essentially going for the jugular. And Simon doesn't attack him in rage. He doesn't attack anyone. He just has a moment of rage where he lets all of those bottled up emotions go in a single burst. The only difference is that he's super powered. So him letting go of his rage is not a man when he punches a wall and then the wall has a little hole in it.
Yeah, nah.
Because that's how a lot of men
I will
release
say,
their rage.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah,
I just want to get ahead of this. Punching a wall is crazy. Man.
Punching a wall is crazy. Punching a wall is crazy.
What are we doing? Punching a wall is crazy.
But when you are super powered, we go far beyond punching walls. He slams on the table and he disintegrates. It's a brand new table.
And it's not a wood table. It's like granite.
It's a marble table.
Yeah, marble granite. Yeah.
He just
it's a countertop.
Like he just like punch, and you know, like I've seen it. I've seen people angry punch things and we're like, oh, I'm frustrated. Bang. But like he's super powered. So when he punches the table it disintegrates. Insane explosion of power.
Yeah.
The amount of context and information and storytelling and true life parallels in this specific episode to me personally was very well thought out. It was very realistic. It was very true to life. And it was very telling of Simon Williams' character. It told us so much about him. It told us so much about why he is the way that he is. And this is one of the episodes that I was genuinely impressed by because they did so much with such a small span of time to progress his character forward in a way that allows us to understand and empathize with what is this man going through? What is he feeling? What is he thinking? What are the people around him thinking? What are the people around him feeling? And how does that inform him as a character?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good observation on the themes of just bottling up, of just, what do you call it? Like mental awareness, you know what I mean?
Suppressing. Yeah, man's mental awareness, yo.
Yeah, it's a really
incredible.
It really does it in a really well ways. Just in the series in general, not even just this episode, but this episode is definitely like the epitome of it.
Emblematic of it.
Yeah. And you know, like you mentioned, you know, Trevor, you know, he was supposed to be there for him and he wasn't, you know, and you know, just to better help him get, you know, his emotions in check so that it wouldn't like fly off the handle, you know, but he wasn't. And you know, if you're listening to this podcast, you know, if you ever feel like, you know, your bed
Yeah, I know, bro. I knew it. I knew you were gonna do that. I knew we were gonna do that like 30 seconds ago. The second you said better help him, I was like, I already knew the bit. I knew the bit.
If you ever need,
We are not sponsored.
We're not
sponsored.
This is sick work. I'm so angry at you, dog.
Here we are talking about mental health and how the importance of it, and then comes here.
Oh no, brother!
I was trying to,
Yo. But all right, yo, but
no,
game,
for-
right? Like
for real,
when
though.
men have like mental health crises, they have their homies and they can joke with and laugh and like,
yeah,
I mean, like we can like vent it out, kind of.
yeah,
Like Simon has no
one.
homies.
Yeah,
He has
no support
bros.
system at all.
He has no
friends,
support
yeah.
system. He is alone in the world, and he thinks he has to be because he feels like he has no one that can be on his side, which is like a crazy concept. I don't think I've seen this type of character in any Marvel or DCU storyline that is this extremely alone. Like this is like an extreme level of loneliness. But yeah. Well said, Super. I ain't gonna trip on you.
I will. So, I will also note, right, as we return about the episode, his family is not surprised by the superpowers.
no,
Right? It is kind of like a, why did you do that, Simon? But they're like, oh, Simon, you have power. No, because I think it's a known quantity. It is a known quantity in the family that, yeah, Simon has superpowers.
Yeah.
You know, we're all keeping it chill.
I think
But it is what it is.
they confirm it too, because in the car, which happens after the party, Simon says, "I've never shown that to anyone other than my family before," and that's why the moment with Trevor is so heavy.
And so, you know, and at this point, even though Trevor has like the evidence, you know, he really is feeling he is really connecting with Simon on a personal level. A personal level. And you know, he's really thinking like maybe Simon's really thinking maybe we should just give up acting, right? Maybe we should get acting like a regular job. But then at this point, two things happen, right? Trevor decides, even though he has tangible proof, he has powers, right? He says no. He takes out his wiretap, he destroys it, and keeps that because he wants to help Simon. And at this point, Simon gets a call back from his agent that he got a call back for the Wonder Man role. Both him and Trevor had got a call back together. So they're kind of like at this point, like, oh, things have changed. Things have changed for the better, but they're in a kind of new, scary situation in their own way. So we stop the kind of Wonder Man bit for episode 4, which I think is incredible. This episode, because they talk about the doorman clause, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
our second time hearing about it too.
Where it's like, okay, you can sign up, for this role, but as long as you have superpowers, right? Because you got to find out, well, why it's such a big deal to have superpowers and be an actor, wouldn't that be an asset, right? And that's where we get the doorman story. And I'll say this before we get into it: if I had a nickel for every single time Yahya Abdul-Mateen was in a superhero themed television show, where the best episode in the series was a black and white flashback episode starring a character that had nothing or little to do with the main plot, I would have 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but it is weird that it happened twice.
Right? What's the second one?
It is if you ever watch the Watchmen television series, I think the episode I have it up 6. This extraordinary being is a black and white episode about, I think, the main character, Regina King's, I think, father or grandfather, right? And his journey, like as I think Hangman, like an early superhero in Watchmen universe. And now in another series starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen, we get the Doorman episode, which is black and white. Very interesting to make it black and white. I think it adds to it. I think it definitely added to it. Now, I will have one complaint about this. Color grading, folks. Black and white was okay, but like we can do better.
Oh, what do you mean?
We can do better for black and white filtering. If you want an example, go watch the Watchmen episode. That did black and white
Very well.
really good. But besides the visuals, so we get the background of Doorman, right? And Doorman is a guy who was a doorman, right? He was a doorman bouncer for a bar, and he liked his job, right? It was a nice club in LA, and he was not a person with a lot of like aspirations. He got paid well, he liked his job, he got at least he knew a couple of celebrities. He meets Josh Gad, who plays like a really fun role as himself, like an exaggerated version of himself, and which is pretty funny. And at some point, he gets superpowers. He's exposed to like this toxic waste from a Roxxon dumpster, and it just reacts to his body in a certain way. And like he has this visual, he's like falling through, and he sees all these doors, and like, he can't get out. And he ends up back in his apartment. And he doesn't know how or why, but he discovers he has powers, right? If he basically can create doorways, right? He can stand, against a wall and create doorway portals between himself, and the exit. And he still is just a doorman at this point, right? He still goes by his job. He has superpowers, but he's like, whatever, I'm gonna do my thing. But during this party, Josh Gad has like this crazy party in the club, and he's going like nuts, and he's like living it up, and he actually starts like a fire in the club, and everyone's trapped inside. The door won't open, and he uses his powers to teleport through the door and basically let people like travel through him, right, and teleport to the other side to safety. And this becomes like a huge story. I'm like, oh my word, this guy, he went in, he saved all these people, he has these crazy powers, and he becomes like a hero for the people. And Josh Gad likes him so much that he hires him as a bodyguard, right? And basically he's like, he's my guy. We go around, we do different stuff, we can teleport, it's really cool. I like hanging out with Doorman. So his life gets elevated. Because at first he doesn't want the job, but he's like $200K. Yeah. He's like, I'm in. Right? So, but then Josh Gad is, on the set for his movie Cash Grab, right? He's doing a heist film. He's trying to figure out, like, what would make this heist film, really take it to the next level. And he's like, well, maybe if it was this, and people were pitching different ideas. He looks over into his doorman and goes, oh, I have an idea. By now everyone calls him Doorman, right? Like that's his viral name is Doorman. So he puts Doorman in the movie, and so it's a heist movie, but hey, Doorman's in it, and he has a catchphrase like "ding dong" whenever he shows up. So they can do a practical stunt of them physically teleporting through Doorman's dark matter. And everyone thinks it's really great. And everyone's like, wow, we love Doorman. Okay? Like he becomes like a full-on like actor.
Yeah.
And like his life levels up. He has like, cars and money, and he goes to all these parties. He goes back to his original club, and now he is the guy who's doing all the, he's playing the Josh Gad role. Things are going great for him. But things start to go less great for him because, unfortunately, if you are known for one thing, everyone wants you to do the one thing until they don't.
Yeah.
And Everyone wants him to teleport things through his body and to say ding dong. Up until they're like, no, this guy sucks now. We don't like him, right? So he does different advertisements, he does different bits. He goes on different comedy roles, and you kind of have a moment where he's like, I want to do other things, right? I want to have more serious roles, but I am just ding dong man, right? That was fun at first, but that's all I can do, right? It's just be in a commercial and for like laxatives and say
crazy,
ding dong.
bro.
And during this time he becomes an alcoholic.
Yeah.
He becomes a full-blown alcoholic, right? And it's subtle. I like how they do it because it's subtle at first, right? You can see him increasing his drinking over time, and then at a certain point, like he's showing the set drunk, right?
Yeah.
And his rise was fast, but he manages money well, and now he's like, I'm broke, and I'm down behind on my car payments and my rent.
And he get caught up with controversy too.
Yes, he got into controversy because he was selling the potato bag, which is the most product of like you put the potatoes in the bag and you microwave them, and I guess it cooks the potatoes or something. But everyone got scalding burns when they were taking the potatoes out of the microwave. And so now he's like, he's like filming his Instagram. His life's awful.
Yeah, it's bad.
His life is awful.
Yeah, it's really bad.
And he is, alcoholic. But then, at his lowest moment, Josh Gad is like, yo, cash grab too? And he's like, yeah, I'm in, right? But even during the, like, set, like, he's on the set and he's back to his, like, doing his thing, but he is an alcoholic, right? His powers are on a fritz.
Yeah. It's funny because he said,
he
just as a point of reference, he said before he shows up to set, he's like, I can't mess this up. Like he's sitting in his car, like he's like really on his last legs. He's like, this is my last shot. I cannot mess this up. This is an extremely important role.
Yeah.
And then he turns up way too hard.
Yeah, like he's in his like what do you call that trailer alone, like straight from the bottle. Like it's rough.
It's bad.
Okay, it's rough. And he goes on set, and they're doing a big stunt for the cash grab too, where they're putting the cash through his body, and he's not feeling too well. Like it sounds like he has the bubble guts. And he's like, I don't know about this. And Josh Gad goes to teleport through Doorman, and he just disappears permanently
while he's vomiting. Like he goes in and he's like,
yeah. And then Josh Gad's just gone.
Yeah, forever.
And nobody can find Josh Gad.
Oh, poor Josh Gad.
And he's just, I guess Josh Gad's just stuck in the dark dimension or whatever. Forever.
He's gonna return in Doomsday.
Josh Gad will return in Doomsday.
So
it's very funny.
So due to this, the Department of Damage Control puts him under surveillance, and because I guess they're waiting for Josh Gad to show back up or something. And Hollywood says, okay, we learned. We're putting the doorman clause in. No more superpowered people on set, please. Because this is an issue. We didn't realize it was an issue. It is an issue. And basically, if you try to have a superpowered person on set, the insurance premium is going to be crazy. Now, this, of course, presents a problem for Simon Williams because he has powers. They are destructive. And he's trying to get this dream role. And if anyone finds out he has powers, he will lose this role.
Yeah.
Doorman episode's great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Great. Like I was already in on the show by like episode 3, but when I saw episode 4, I was like, that was a real like, yep, okay, there's something special going on here.
Yeah.
I think it's
that
also
last shot.
I'm
gonna bring one point. The last shot of episode 4 where like he's like, kind of pulls up. He's pulled because the episode goes from black and white to color because he pulls away on his phone.
Oh,
and he has a moment where he's just like freaking out, and it's the last shot of him getting up and him just like walking off the set of whatever he's auditioning for, like as he's kind of like breaking down, and then just holds on to like that empty door for a minute. That was a really good shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also really liked the. This is really good. I mean, every episode of the show so far is really good. But there's a scene where Doorman is talking to his boss. He's at the bar, and the boss asks him, "Yo, are you happy?" Right? And in that moment, Doorman seems very content with his current lot in life, and she's shocked. The boss is shocked at how content he is. She's just like, "How can that be? Everyone in this town is always trying to get ahead, always trying to make more of themselves, or always trying to push themselves further." He's like, "Nah, things are great. Like, I'm in a great spot." And then you fast forward, right, to a future scene where, as Bate has so thoroughly mentioned, he is the current Josh Gad. He's a big movie star. Everyone loves him. He's at the club. He's got his entourage with him, and his former boss shows up, and she's just like, "Hey, like, how are you? Like, how have you been?" He's talking about where he's at. He when she asks him about how he is, she kind of looks into his eyes, and she sees a shift. And it's clear that the money and the fame have created something different in him. Because at a time he was happy and he had contentment. And now he has lost a lot of those things. He is now in a state where he is only finding joy when he can acquire. And she doesn't really respond to what he says in that moment. She just kind of stares. She's just like, "Oh man, this is bad." She doesn't say this is bad, but you can tell by her body language that she's just like internally saying, "Uh-oh. He's like everyone else in this town now. He's fallen into the trap."
Yeah.
It was a subtle thing. And it didn't have an enormous amount of dialogue. But as a viewer, you're watching it and you're like, these things are all leading up to a disaster. We can kind of sense the feeling of impending doom. See what I did there? We can sense the feeling of Victor Vaughn, not blank, of impending doom as it kind of approaches, because he's clearly like walking his way into his own destruction. And this scene, the alcohol is one piece, but this scene shows a lifestyle that is whittling away at his sense of joy and contentment and living with the husk of what he once was, which is a sad thing. I think the boss also feels very sad about it. But then it culminates in a horrific incident that we see as the episode continues. I just wanted to highlight that scene, that shift, from the boss being like, "Wow, you seem really happy," to, "Oh no, like you seem like nothing will actually bring you joy anymore, that you're going to constantly be chasing for the rest of your life." That's a bad sign.
What's even worse is, like, just recently they found Doorman's in the files, unfortunately.
Ding dong on the island.
Yeah, how do you think they were getting, everywhere they were going?
Don't do it. No.
Let's not joke about that right now.
That's crazy. That's sick work.
Hey, I could be talking about anything,
And it's gonna button. It's the button. Like what, 10 years?
Doorman got there before Elon.
All right,
Crazy.
so
Doorman got there
Elon.
all right. That's
See what you did.
we were.
I blame you.
I can always count on Supo to yes and. He's like, Supo, really, when you think about it, he's like the Andor of like yes anding on this podcast. All right. So in on the next episode, we have a bit where they are celebrating their good news, but they're both Simon's so anxious, right? Like everything good that's happening to him from this point on is like getting him tweaked. And I think I can sympathize this a lot. Okay. As someone who personally has anxiety disorder, when good things happen in your life, you can start to get worried. Okay, you can get very worried about you losing the good things. And when you have opportunities, you get very worried about messing them up. And that's kind of how he feels. And so you have a bit where I think Simon gets jumped by these guys who are drug dealers, who I guess Simon walked out on years past. I think it was a lot of drugs too. It was a lot that they sold him, and he didn't pay up, and they're here and they want to get their money. And Simon busts out his powers in a very limited capacity, right? But busts out his powers and basically takes down all these guys. And someone films them, right? Somebody with a GoPro is filming them, and they kind of chase him down through the city, but at the same time, he's not trying to necessarily get away, right? And they find out that the kid's like, I'll give you this GoPro footage, right? But you need give me something in return, right? I think this episode is a little bit it
backtracks?
It's not as logically sound,
I think,
as the other episodes. Yeah. Right. This is a lot. This feels almost like a sitcom Seinfeld situation.
I guess they were trying to go for
they
that.
have gotten themselves into
loose ends,
right? Of of oh well, this guy has to go here, and we have to do this, and there's kind of there's not really a strong through line, but it's not a bad episode, but that's how it goes. But basically, one of the guys, Jaden, is like, he was a GoPro footage. I'll erase it if you help me get my motorcycle back from Esteban. And then they go to Esteban's house, and they think Esteban's his friends are doing making drugs, but they actually are just manufacturing a special blend of candy, using Taijin, which is a pretty good spice. It's very, very, very good spice. And different fruit candy and gummies, and that's their bit. And Esteban is like, well, Jaden sucks, right? He tried to cut out on me in my business. And then somehow Jaden gets kidnapped by the drug dealer. He's held hostage by the drug dealers who have come back and returned. And then, even though he's held hostage, Jaden gets the GoPro through the door, and then they erase the footage, and then the cops show up. And there's a lot. It's
what is it?
A lot of things happen.
Like a good side adventure.
It was a weird side adventure. But then we are going to moving on to our next.
Bro, we got to talk about it. Man. Hold on, no. We got to address this. We got to address this episode a little bit more. What is the deal with that motorcycle?
It doesn't matter. It was for the.
Cool.
It doesn't matter.
Cool. Love that. That's ridiculous. In a show that has wasted nothing, we get this episode.
Sometimes different screenwriters have different ideas.
The purpose of
sometimes you get a guy who writes one episode and it doesn't fit in with everything else.
Doesn't fit in with everything else at all. You say your piece, Super O. Maybe there's something I missed here. Tell me the intention of this.
So personally, right, I thought this was just a fun little episode, and especially just on the basis of just nothing here. I would say nothing, but the whole plotline with Esteban and the candy factory that guy had going on. And that isn't an essential for the plot, but it is. But it's it was an episode that shows you more of Trevor and Simon's relationship, and I just thought it was pretty. I thought it was just pretty funny.
No, I figured it out. I've cracked the code.
Oh yeah.
I know why this episode exists.
How so?
Somebody at Marvel said, you gotta have action in this. Right? Somebody said, I know you're making this little artsy fartsy piece, but we need to get a fight in here. And we do whatever. So they had to create justification, right? So Simon could fight some guys, right? And then also go on a little fun adventure and have Trevor or something to do. This is my suspicion.
I guess.
Is they want someone said that like we need to do this extra bit, and then they said, and someone said we need to have the thing where he uses his powers to fight people, and then someone else said, well, if he uses his powers to fight people, wouldn't that expose him? And then they went down the line, and that's how you get this weird plot line.
And that might be it.
That's what I believe.
That might be it.
You're probably
none
right,
of this
but
comes
it's
back up again.
But the way
It
I
also
see
adds.
it,
It feels. It kind of adds a
it's
lot
so
about his
disjointed.
character.
the way I see
like
it,
who
right,
who the gunshot? Who got shot?
did someone get shot?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, there's a gun fired, and apparently someone is shot. But like,
Yeah, I think it's an exchange between the gang members and the police.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's just different. Like it just kind of there. This was like the most like humorous episode. Like this is a drama series, but it does have its like humorous bits.
yeah,
I
but there's
think, like,
humor before and after this episode.
Yeah, but
Okay,
like
I'm gonna chill. But that's my take on it. I was kind of let down by
like-
kind of how haphazard this episode felt, and how there were so many things that the episode introduced that I was like, oh, that's interesting. What's happening here? And then it ended, and we're just kind of like, oh, okay, this is just a thing that was just like thrown in.
Yeah. And I'll say, even like the tightest drama series, right? Any long run, I think the only thing that makes a sting is the fact that it's 8 episodes and they're 30 minutes, right? But any long running show will have like we're doing a fun one episode. That's inevitable.
Yeah.
Right? Breaking Bad has them, right? Better Call Saul has
The
one
Fly
weird episode. Yeah, The Wire has they all do that, right? It's just unfortunately we do not live in a space where television shows get 22 episodes in a season. We live in the miniseries space. And when you live in the miniseries space, the fun one doesn't feel fun.
Yeah, but like
yeah.
I see what you guys mean. And no, I would say like in the terms of like where the plot goes in the series, it's probably the most attached one. But like I thought there was still some really good bits in this. Like when they're chasing down the guy.
Yeah, not everything has to go to contribute to the plot.
Yeah.
Like when they're like, I don't think so. I don't think you can do fun stuff. Like I would say, this is completely different, but from last year when we reviewed Gurren Lagann, you have a couple episodes where it feels a little bit monster of the week, or they're just doing something, right? It all adds up. I think the problem is this episode doesn't like add up. The only thing this contributes is a character can react to something later on their cell phone.
But this is the episode where they reveal that Barnaby betrays Wonder Man.
True.
It kind of foreshadows.
Oh, it's for foreshadowing
to Trevor because
spit. All right. So after this misadventure, they find out, okay, they're gonna do the callback at Kovacs today, and then they do a bit where I guess Kovac's a weirdo.
Yes, he is.
You'll recognize Kovac because he played not Netanyahu last year in Superman.
That's where he was.
Yes.
Not
and am I wrong? Anyways, so a bunch of other actors have been chosen, all the different actors who are doing roles, either play Barnaby or Wonder Man. And, he is like doing this weird method kind of thing where he's like, oh, well, I want you to do this scene. Like, don't worry about the script, do this scene, right? Just act out this. You two are lovers, or, you two were here or this, right? And I guess Simon Williams, he does like a scene from Pretty Woman, for whatever reason. But he I think one of the big things that happens is like they're kind of split up for a little bit, like Trevor and Simon doesn't know if he can do this, and he feels inadequate, right? And he also he has a word about his powers, and he has a dream.
That dream was
when it happened, I was like,
yeah.
but I knew it was a dream. I knew it had to be a dream sequence, right? But he has a dream. He has a dream sequence where they're acting out a scene, and the actors like start to call him a freak, and he just punches a hole right through his skull.
I thought that was...
just with his ionic power crystallizing it. It's pretty wild.
Extremely wild, brother.
That
was a wild scene. I literally was like,
it is
I was mouth open agape. I was like, yo,
I was like, is this what the show is now?
TVMA?
Yeah. So then they go back and forth, but I think Slattery gives him a pretty good pep talk on him being more than his powers, and encourages, because he doesn't want to show emotions, right? Because he's so afraid that by exhibiting his emotions, it's going to cause him to exhibit his powers, and then everything's over. But he's able to get over this hump together, and they do a really great I think rehearsal or audition for the Wonder Man and Barnaby role. And Kovac is like, all right, this is the guy. Like, these are the people I want to be, my Wonder Man and Barnaby. So the production starts to go. And Simon is so happy, right? Everyone and this is a really great moment. And Trevor's also happy, but at this point, Trevor gets picked up by damage control, and they're like, "Hey, you got to do your mission, right? Yeah. To get this evidence, or else." And Slattery's like, "I need more time. I'm gonna collect more evidence, whatever, but we'll figure it out." And that leads to our penultimate episode, where they're filming for Wonder Man, and Simon has everything he kind of ever wanted, right? He has a team, right? He got execs who are calling him on for dinners, being like, "Hey, you have this opportunity to be like in the show, right? Where you could be the lead." He has gophers that go get snacks and food for him, right? He's very happy, and he's still a little pedantic, a little less so than earlier, but he's still like, I don't know about this script, right? I want you to change this line or do this, right? But Trevor's always there to back him up, which he needs, because at this point, the New York Times journalist Kathy Friedman is writing a profile on them, and everyone's like, okay, she is a threat because she'll dig up dirt, she'll come at you, and she can make a celebrity look awful, right? They bring up like Joseph Gordon-Levitt killing pigeons.
Yeah, that was funny.
Right. Or different bits, and everyone's like, and he's so nervous and so anxious, and he's trying to be like such an exaggerated portrayal of like a good guy, of like, oh no, I go first. No, I'll get the snacks myself. Like, hey, I'm gonna send this $600 chocolate to this person, on the staff, right? He's really trying to like play it up. And he's worried because she's also interviewed people in his life, right? Like his parents, his brother, even his girlfriend, right? His ex-girlfriend. And he has this worry that, it's going to reveal his powers. Yeah. And everything's going to be over. But every one of those people don't reveal it, right? Because all those people care about him in their own ways, and they don't want to expose him. And, he has this bit where he's talking to his girlfriend, and Vivian's like, I know you have superpowers, Simon, right? But, I care about you, and I wouldn't reveal that. And I just hope one day you can feel free to express yourself. Now, I feel like this scene, this is a scene that could have a double meaning.
Mm.
And I think this is, that speech also feels like Vivian's telling Simon, yes, Simon, I know you're DL.
That's what you took from it?
bro, you could, because she doesn't say anything about powers once, right?
Yeah.
You could literally take that scene and pop it into like another show, and it would play out exactly the same.
Okay.
I mean, sure. we
Sure.
cook here. I get.
I'm okay. All right. You know what? People, I would be remiss as a reviewer not to bring up this.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't want to be the guy who's like, oh, they couldn't see that. I mean, come on. Like it's, I felt it was on.
Someone here watched Stranger Things too much.
That's why season 3 a bit too long.
Play. I'm telling you, play that scene again. Play that scene again. Okay. It can come across that way. It's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'll say the matter. And during like one of the interviews, right? Because finally they get a chance to interview him together. Friedman interviews Slattery and Simon, and she points out like, "Hey, Slattery, isn't it weird how you were, you were supposed to be in jail and then you got out and you never served your sentence, and like all this stuff happened, but you're just walking about free?"
Yeah.
And Simon's like, "Huh?" And he's like, "But did you take some kind of deal with the government, right, or whatever?" And that eventually causes them to kind of blow up, where Slattery admits to Simon, like, "Yes, I am sorry. I did. I have been hired to spy on you, but I really care about you, bro, and I wanted to make things work. But it is what it is, and he's like, I'll find a way to get us out of this situation." And Simon's like, "How?" He's like, "Well, I'll figure it out." And this distress, right, of finding a person who really mentored him, who helped him all along this way, and was like this important figure in his life. Yeah, had betrayed him, causes him to he walks into the set and explodes, like blows up the entire building, right, with his power. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Like, Simon is a very powerful metahuman.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a very powerful metahuman. So he blows up the thing with his power, and that's where the episode ends. And you kind of this feeling of like, oh, he's screwed.
Yep.
Right. And then in the last episode, right, it's kind of like the wheels are coming off for Simon. Simon kind of goes back to his apartment, and he's just like, they're going to arrest me. It's over. Right. I've ruined everything. It's all bad. But then, Slattery calls him. It's like, it's okay, man. I got you. I told you I'd make it up. I told you I figured it out. You're my homie, bro. And you find out he figured it out by getting the Mandarin costume back on and playing the Mandarin again, right? Where he goes out and it's like, you'll never see me coming, and he films like a whole video. He puts it out where he's like, America, has done are doing psychological operations working with Hollywood. So I decided to take it upon myself and destroy, this thing, this next corporate slop. And takes the blame, for that. And even though the damage control guy knows it's not the Mandarin, he'll take it. He'll take it because that saves his job.
Yeah.
It's a big catch. It saves his job. And, so the Mandarin goes to prison to protect Simon. And things work out for Simon. Like, surprisingly well. Everything from here works out pretty well for him. He gets his job back. They say, hey, well, Kovac, like, he still wants to film. So, Simon, he uses, he goes on to play, like he plays aside instead of playing across from Slattery. He plays across from like a tennis ball.
Hollywood magic,
He reads the lines too, and they add a new guy in post. And as it turns out, Wonder Woman's a hit.
Wonder Woman.
No,
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Man.
Women.
I'm surprised that it took me this the first time. We've been recording for an hour and a half, and it's the first time that's happened.
Wonder Woman.
Give me
That's
credit.
all truth.
So Wonder Man is a big success,
That's
right?
what you-
Everyone loves Wonder Man. Everyone thinks Wonder Man is a great movie. His mom loves it. His brother loves it. You know, and his brother is tearing up watching him, and he's supportive. You know, it's not like the brother ever just really disliked Simon. He just didn't think like his acting career was going anywhere, which it wasn't. But you know, things have worked out, and he's a star now. He is a bona fide star. You know, and he has a bit where, you know, they're kind of him and Kovac are joking. He's like, you know, I'd never make a sequel. You know, making sequels, who would do that? But you know, but maybe we could you know, put our heads together and think about how we could follow it up. You know, he has all these roles. Things are going great, but there's one last unresolved thread. So it cuts away, and you know, you see Simon is supposedly doing this role, right? Where he's just a random guy, right? This random Midwestern man, and he goes to him and is like, I want to study you because this is going to influence my next project. And you know, he's like, well, you gotta keep it hush hush. You can't tell anybody, but I'm gonna shadow you. I'm gonna work with you. I'm gonna figure out what's going on. I'm gonna see what your job is, you know, whatever. And you find out that this guy works for damage control.
Yeah.
And he is able to get in with him to visit the damage control prison. And once he gets in the prison, he uses his powers like disrupt the cameras and break his homie out of jail. And they fly away together. And it's a pretty great scene. So Simon has a much greater master of his powers. He's much more comfortable, and he's like, "Hey, man, I couldn't leave you to rot, bro. You know, after everything you did for me." And they're right off into the sunset. Wonder Man and Barnaby.
Yay.
And yeah, that's the show.
Yeah.
And
Quite a series, to be honest with you, for a variety of reasons.
Quite a series. Hey, that was it was a really good like miniseries.
Yeah.
Like I was surprised. I'm surprised there was no big battle at the end. Right? It didn't end with Simon being like, and now I have to beat up all these damage control guys. Right? Or whatever. He doesn't, right? They I guess in the last episode he quote unquote gets his comic suit. But that's just for a role in the movie, not for him to like, you know, go do stuff. There's no reveal, right? There's no like post credits of like, you know, Falcon showing up and saying, Simon, you know, would you like to be a hero for real? Or whatever. Yeah. None of that.
Not even like
they could have
like Wonder Man will return and
no, there's not even a cameo. When he went to the prison, right? I thought assuredly we get cameos from like different villains or different No. They don't even do that. And you know what? Good for you.
They held back. They held back a little.
They held. This is a very self-contained show.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like shocked that the show got made.
Yeah.
Absolutely
like,
shocked.
I feel like Marvel didn't have a whole lot of stake in it, but like this, honestly, in my opinion, is like their best show. Or at the very least, like on par with, I think maybe I have Daredevil up there, but it's like I probably have this.
Well, I would say out of the Marvel Studios shows,
the Marvel Studio
I think
shows.
it's the best one.
Yeah, it's like one of their most
like the best one
cleanest, most straightforward story that just doesn't end up as another Marvel movie. Yeah.
Slop.
And what
I mean, because like when you to this day, I'm still mad at Miss
for
Marvel.
going that route. Yeah.
Those first two episodes were fantastic, but they don't hold the course. They don't hold the course, and it becomes just Marvel slop for the rest of the series. And I think this is a good time now that we've actually tasted good food, right? We know what quality is. I can get on this platform and say something that I've wanted to say for a long time. Okay?
Say it with your chest.
Moon Knight sucks, bro.
Sucks.
Okay? That Moon Knight show was not good. No. Yeah, you're right. No. I think we all like try to trick ourselves into believing it was good. Because it's Oscar Isaac. It's this and that. Oh, it has different personalities. And we all collectively try to be like, it's good. Even when the choreography was terrible, even when the CGI didn't work, even when the plot points were stupid, even when it ended with a big, like, dumb kaiju fight and all that stuff, we all attempted to trick ourselves into thinking Moon Knight was good. Moon Knight is trash.
I don't want to sound selfish.
And I'm here to say
I don't want to sound selfish, but I instantly did not like the show by episode 2. I did not
really.
And the thing is, I didn't really like the show either, but I put up with it because there was some crumbs there. There was definitely some crumbs there, specifically with Oscar Isaac, but that was a show where I kind of like said, well, surely there's something here.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I did like the first 2 to 3 episodes, but it's the last 3, especially that last episode in specific, that really like left a bad taste in my mouth of the show.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no one in this show, no character stopped and said, "Wonder Man, he's a real Haitian superhero." No one
the
did
first
that.
Haitian superhero, and he stared at the camera with a smile.
Yeah, I'm appreciative that no one did that because that's what we call hack writing.
I mean, there's just there's a lot of, when it comes to like the MCU shows, there is a lot of them trying to, should I say this,
Prove themselves to prove themselves to like the modern audience that we're listening, or we're trying to be.
So they jam in like all like the heroes that they could think of, or like all these connections to like otherworldly events, and trying to make everything on such just like massive scale.
Yeah, they want them to feel like movies.
Yeah.
Even though they're
television shows, Kevin Feige.
And a lot of shows for me of the Marvel MCU shows, they would either start off pretty good and then like not stick the landing. I feel like that's like was a lot. Like I think up till now, maybe the only show that I could truly say was like, I mean, I liked Hawkeye because Hawkeye knew what it was trying to be. It doesn't really go too crazy.
Yeah, but I'll say Hawkeye never rose above the level of like an 8.
Yeah.
But it didn't try
like
to.
A 5, but
right?
That's just me.
Oh
yeah,
I'm
kind of with Beto on this one. I was kind of let down. Well, I should say let down. I didn't have many. I didn't have many high expectations for Hawkeye.
For me, Hawkeye is like a 7, or 8.
Also, they severely disrespected
and that's
Kingpin.
okay.
I'm just gonna say that up front about Hawkeye.
I guess
I was not happy about that.
But yeah,
they've done a much better job.
I would say like you're right. Like
Born Again is for sure. I think up until now, I would have had Born Again as like my favorite season.
Born Again's great, man.
I'm not favorite season, but favorite. Compared to all the
I don't know, man. I don't know. Born Again's
compared to all the MCU shows,
brother.
Compared to the other MCU shows,
brother.
Born Again is like. Okay,
we're
I'll say
getting into
parts
a lot
of Born Again are
stuff though. We haven't even finished.
I know we are.
What happened?
And you know what?
What'd you do?
We will get into Daredevil.
Derailed.
We will get into Daredevil when it shows up. But I think we're gonna have to have a talk about television shows. I think just superhero television shows.
Yeah,
like, where are
this
we?
is not really a superhero.
But this was a good
show,
one.
To be candid with you, it's a television show that just
it's a television show that happens to have
sprinkling elements of a superhero in it.
So someone tweeted saying like, and I kind of agree, but they said that Wonder Man is the MCU's Atlanta, and I was like, I kind of agree with that.
Almost.
Okay. That's a much better comparison than Andor.
Actually, yeah, honestly.
So you're saying that Atlanta is the Andor of Black Comedy.
Oh, God.
You know what? Peak of Fiction Atlanta episode.
Oh man.
All right. So to wrap it up, because time is ticking. We will give our scores, and we'll say, we'll start with this: is Wonder Man trash, mid, or peak?
It's a peak for me, dog.
Peak for me.
It's peak for me.
It's peak for me too, but we'll talk about it.
All right. So now as we get to our next category of this, is Wonder Man low peak, mid peak, or like peak?
For me, it just barely misses
Low
out,
peak.
but I have to give it a low peak.
A low peak.
Like,
Yeah.
and I was moving into
Yeah.
scores.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I know we got 2 rated low peaks. It would have been mid peak to me, except for that one episode, brother. That episode took me down. It took me down a little bit.
But that episode is just like an Atlanta episode where where Paperboy or Ernest and all them. It's like going on their own misadventure.
But I would be okay with it.
I would say
be okay with
if
it in
Wonder
Atlanta.
Man,
But like we've set like a
Yes.
precedent, we have a derailment. We go back to the precedent again. It just didn't feel. It didn't feel. It lacked continuity
Right.
for me. And for me, I need. Well, if you see my review of Gurren Lagann, I have the same complaint with Gurren Lagann. There's just like that one random episode that feels like it derailed the flow, and for me, that's enough to knock it down a little bit. I still think it's peak. I still think it's one of the best MCU shows we've ever gotten. But there's MCU shows that I think are I will say far better than this. But I still think there are an enormous number of MCU shows that are far worse than this. So I rate it low peak. Because I still think it's quite a good show. I'm looking at other things that fit within the same criteria, and I think to myself, there are things that are mid peak, things that are peak that I see as a more consistent story.
and I'll say this: if the episodes were longer, and there was like more of them, then shenanigans can be permitted.
Yeah,
I think is always the thing, right? This is a problem with like especially these short series, right? These short seasons, right? If we're only gonna do like less than 10 episodes or like in a season, shenanigans don't really fly.
Yeah.
Right? Shenanigans feel bad because you're like there's space and now we're doing whatever, right? But if it's a long season, who cares? Let's do a musical episode. Who cares? Right? Let's have fun with it. Right? Let's do an episode where everyone's a cowboy or whatever. Like, sure. Right? Shenanigans can reign when you have longer form media. But if you only have a little bit of time and I feel like you're wasting it, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
But I think we got our.
What's your rating, Bait?
Low peak. I think we all did low peak.
Yeah.
Should have gone low.
Yeah. Just to kind of cap it off a little. I thoroughly did still enjoyed this series. It only didn't quite hit mid or higher for me, because there were like aspects that I feel like just wasn't explored enough. Like I feel like we could have done a bit more with the guys who hired Trevor, but like, or just some just characters in general. But the bond between Simon and Trevor, and just how they go about there, and how you can see like the hunger for acting and in Simon's like demeanor and everything, and even the fact that like Simon isn't even like a real like likable guy, but that's what makes him so that's why I like watching him. Like he like during the episode, like I know you guys don't like the episode, right? But like that episode where everyone where the gangsters are holding the kid at gunpoint against the police, and everyone's just like yelling, it's like scared. Like the only thing Simon's concerned about is like oh, the callbacks been moved up to right now. We gotta go. We gotta,
Right.
and it doesn't care about this kid getting shot. Like, yo, we gotta, come on, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
And it's moments like that that like really, like, I really like it. But I just can't put it. There's like a certain like score criteria I have when it comes to like that 3 section that just didn't. It just barely like missed out on. So yeah. So amazing.
All right. So I think this wraps up another great episode of Peak of Fiction. Next week, okay, this is as you might see, this is debuting in February. So we are officially on that Black History Month time.
Happy Black History Month, y'all.
And what do you know? There's another MCU, very popular MCU movie with a black character.
Blade.
Yes, we're talking about Captain America: Brave New World next week. That this is a
Okay,
no,
no,
we will not. We will not. Be doing that.
I can finally watch the 5 minutes I missed.
Why would you throw Falcon?
We will
under
be
the bus like
covering
that?
Black Panther.
Oh,
Okay, we're covering Black Panther 2018. We're going to return to the last good time we've had as a people.
The
in this
last
country.
good time we've had as a people is great.
The last time we've ever filmed.
The last time things were working out for us. So
Wakanda forever.
we will be doing that. And much
hard
more
R,
coming up on the docket. So stay tuned. As we said before, if you made it this far, why aren't you subscribed? Why aren't you liking? Why aren't you commenting? You just stopped all this way to view us and listen to us
press
for
him.
free?
Call him out.
Press it. You owe
Yeah.
us. Really.
You owe us
Timothy.
exactly.
$2,000.
we gave you all this free content, and now you're just sitting around not giving us likes and comments.
Man.
What?
Everyone laugh at the bum it.
Show some love, man. Show some love.
Fred, all right. We love y'all. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Real, y'all.
Peace.
Good night. Good afternoon.